We have long gazed at the heavens to find answers for humanity's most perplexing mysteries. What lies beyond the sky? What are the stars made of? What caused Earth and the other planets to condense and form? Searching in space for answers to these big questions has taught us remarkable things that have improved our well-being here on Earth. The idea of using space to answer our biggest questions is easy to accept. Space can also be used to help us unlock answers to questions at the other end of the spectrum, in the microscopic range. By observing single cells and micron-sized particles and clusters of molecules in space, and understanding their dynamics and interactions without the masking force of gravity, researchers can develop new materials with unique properties.
Functional materials are playing an increasingly important role in our modern society. They form the basis for a wide range of technologies. They're needed for computation, communications, and for storage and display of information. These are materials whose function is associated with their electric, magnetic, and optical properties. Functional materials are also used for the generation and storage of energy, for mobility, and for sensing. For example, learning to work with 3D structures made from colloids that are the size of the wavelength of light will allow us to directly control light. We're using the microgravity environment provided on the International Space Station to extend our understanding of colloidal engineering to 3D. This will help provide many of the building blocks for these new technologies.
Colloidal suspensions appear everywhere, in all types of industrial and technological applications. Complex fluids and soft materials contribute about 5% to the U.S. GDP and about 30% to U.S. manufacturing output. New discoveries and improvements represent a weighty potential for economic and scientific advancement. The Light Microscopy Module, or LMM, a modified commercial Leica RXA laboratory microscope aboard the International Space Station, continues to contribute to this research. Performing experiments aboard the ISS helps researchers to better understand complex processes by removing the masking effects of gravity from the equation. The NASA Glenn Research Center in Cleveland, Ohio has configured and maintains the LMM and common laboratory infrastructure inside the ISS's Fluids Integrated Rack. Researchers can interact with their experiments in space in real time using ground-based controls. This year, the LMM team is planning to install a confocal scanning feature to the core microscope. It will also upgrade LMM's digital camera and supporting electronics. Confocal microscopy allows colloidal specimens to be observed with improved contrast and depth of field. A frequency-doubled neodymium YAG laser inside the LMM uses 532 nanometer green laser light to tightly focus light onto fluorescing microstructures in a very narrow, movable focal plane. The confocal images are acquired at 10 frames per second as the microscope stage is raised and assembled layer by layer into a stack, resulting in a three-dimensional model of a microscopic structure that can later be rotated and examined from any angle. Matthew Lynch is manifested to use confocal microscopy and microgravity to observe the evolution of the microstructure of material and colloidal gels in 3D. Understanding what happens at the particle level in reduced gravity can lead to better stabilizers to give consumer products longer shelf life.
The idea simply is this: we make a lot of products, and the products contain suspended particles. And the problem with suspended particles in a normal kind of environment is that particles like to separate. They'll either rise to the top or they'll settle to the bottom. Well, it turns out that looking at these phenomena under gravity is really, really complicated, right? So these things will settle, these things will rise. All that happens at very, very fast timescales. And it kind of masks, in a sense, some of the underlying physics that we'd like to understand. And we've done work in the past with a fluorescent microscope, and the problem with a fluorescent microscope is it gives you some good semi-quantitative information about the location and whereabouts of the different particles in time. The problem is that the pictures, at a lack of a more scientific term, are somewhat fuzzy. You can see them, you can kind of semi-quantitative understand how they're assembled and put together. Quantitatively, it's very, very difficult to extract a lot of information out. The confocal is kind of really a step change in our ability to do that more quantitative measure. The particles are crisp, they're clean, and not only a two-dimensional image that we can see in a normal fluorescent scope, but they're actually three-dimensional images that we can raster through and reassemble three-dimensional structures. Looking forward to it should be a really nice way of really extending our science.
Microgravity aids the industrial development of material properties masked by sedimentation in Earth's gravity. Self-assembly of colloidal particles in electrical and magnetic fields in microgravity allows new materials with unique electrical, magnetic, or optical properties to be discovered. Long-term study of the thermophysical properties of 3D structures grown from colloids and biomolecules may yield better solar cells by using the charge carriers in nanoparticle haloing. Structural knowledge for the development of product stabilizers and the growth of crystals in microgravity can lead to improved pharmaceuticals and polymers. Particle shapes can be found to make paints and inks that dry evenly, and materials that share the strengths of both ordered crystals and disordered glasses. And studying the microstructure of large surface area electrodes can lead to more powerful and robust batteries. The ACE experiments represent the potential for significant advancements in the broad field known as colloidal engineering.
Hello, I'm Ron Sicker, the Light Microscopy Module Payload Manager. 2016 has been another exciting year for microscopic research on the International Space Station. 3 experiments were conducted in the LMM, bringing the total to 15 since operation started in 2010. A nanoparticle haloing experiment was conducted in a new heated sample module. Nanoparticle haloing has been predicted by theory and could be an important breakthrough for solar cells. A medical device experiment called microchannel diffusion experiment captured images of particles that can be scaled up due to the microgravity environment on the ISS. The advanced colloids experiment features temperature control and in situ mixing. This self-assembly experiment was conducted by a new international partner at Chungnam National University in Korea. Next year, we'll bring new 3D confocal capabilities for colloids research at the micron particle level and protein crystal life science research. This work is sponsored by the Space, Life, and Physical Sciences Division at NASA headquarters and the NASA Johnson Space Flight Center, codes OZ and OB, with collaboration from CASIS and our International Space Station partners. Thank you for attending the Fluid Physics session at the 2016 ASGSR.